Hey there, hope you're having a great day. This video is about the Mohican Trail 100-mile race. It's a trail race. So the Mohican 100 is quite the race. It is an amazing experience. Highly recommend you try it and go for it if you get the opportunity, for sure. I've done this race twice, completed it twice, and I want to share some information that I've learned along the way in hopes that it can make or help you be as prepared as possible for when you go and tackle this race. First off, this is not an easy race. I've done quite a few races. I've completed 15 or 1600 milers, and I've done 3 200-miler plus distances, and this was a tough one. A lot tougher than I had expected. So maybe by watching this you can get some information to be a little more prepared than I was when I did this race. Because the first one was not pretty. I won't lie, it was rough. This race has a lot of elevation gain, and it's also in heat. So those two combinations are quite the challenge. You have a lot of climbing to do throughout this race. You need to be ready and prepared for that. So hit the hills when you're doing your training. Be sure you're doing a lot of elevation gain and getting your legs, quads very strong, because you're going to need them and use them when you're out there. That was quite the challenge. Also the heat. This race takes place in June, so both times I did it, it got really hot. The second time I did it, which it was brutally hot, and a lot of people dropped because they were getting dehydrated. And as soon as you get really hot, a lot of people, including myself, have a hard time consuming calories. So take that into consideration, that's going to be quite the challenge. But I will say that running throughout the night at Mohican is absolutely gorgeous. The stars in the sky and the dark, beautiful forest is just enchanting. So I really love that part. It's a little cooler at night. It's wonderful. So I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, so I had to drive up to this race. I left 2 days before, spent the night in a hotel, got plenty of rest 2 nights before the race, so that the night before a race I take that as bonus sleep and rest. So because I'm usually too excited about the race to sleep very well the night before. So that's my strategy and what I like to do. You should do what works best for you. But I got up there 2 nights before, had a hotel room for 2 days, and slept very hard on the Thursday before, and then Friday was spent just relaxing, going to the grocery store, getting a nice variety of food, because when you're that hot, you're not going to know exactly what you are going to want to eat. And not only that, but you're going to blow through some serious calories. I struggle with that big time, especially on my first race. Doing the elevation gain that you have to do, you're going to blow through a lot more calories, at least I did, than I was used to. So I got behind on calories, which made this race very challenging for me. So have extra calories, have extra variety of food, and please do this, because I made the mistake and it was really hard on me. Carry extra food in your pack. You never know what's going to happen. On my first race, I ended up missing my crew because I was ahead of schedule, and I didn't have them to give me the snacks and food that I was anticipating on having, and that it almost cost me the race, because I got so behind on calories and felt so awful, like so bad that I was getting really dizzy and I felt like I was going to pass out. I needed calories desperately. So carry extra food in your pack. Even if you don't think you're going to need it, because you're going to blow through a lot more calories on this race that you may consider than you may have planned for. One gentleman had a great idea, and I do this all the time now, is he had a plastic baggie with some tailwind that he can add to his water if he had to. And I thought that was really smart. So I do the same now for all my other races. And that's just like his emergency backup calories to get him to the next aid station if he had to. The aid stations on this race were pretty good and pretty cool. They don't get set up right away. So having that first aid station that you get to, don't count on having a whole lot out there. When I got there, they didn't have any ice. They didn't have, if I recall, they didn't even have any food set out yet. So have enough snacks in your pack or with your crew to handle I would say the first loop of the race, just to be safe. And because you can't always count on an aid station being up and running and ready. They were great aid stations. The volunteers are terrific, but they weren't quite ready for all the runners right from the beginning. I needed ice when I was going, and they didn't have any of it available or out yet. So that was kind of an issue. But it all worked out. It was fine, but just be ready for that in case you weren't aware. Variety of food. Like I said, this is a hot race, and I've seen a lot of people not anticipate the heat of this race. And I'm from Florida, so I don't mind the heat so much. And I had a challenge with how hot it gets at this race in the summertime. So have cool, comfortable clothing, have a variety of easy food that you can eat in the heat, and practice that in your training, because that's quite the challenge. For me, I preferred solid food, and at certain aid stations I would have, I ended up eating lasagna on the second race, and that fueled me very well for that race, and I didn't bonk whatsoever on the second time around, but I was a lot more prepared and ready. But bring food, have solid food or whatever works for you, but just have plenty of it. This is such a fun race though. It's really beautiful in the forest. You're gonna do 4 loops, 2 longer loops, 2 shorter loops at the end, or the second half. And I think the course is just gorgeous. I really love this race. I can't wait to actually do it again. I'm gonna sign up for it eventually, depending on my race schedule. But on the first 2 loops, you get to a point where you go down lower in the mountain and you get to this really beautiful waterfall. If you get the chance, and I did this and I'm glad I did, I took off my pack and I went through the water. The water is ice cold. It feels very refreshing. It's beautiful. It's not a huge waterfall, but it's fun. So it's something to look forward to. Another thing I wish I had done, you may want to consider, is trekking poles. Considering the elevation gain in this race, which is quite a bit, I would say more than a typical 100-miler race. It's a little bit more elevation gain than that. You might want to consider bringing your trekking poles. I wish I had, and if I do this race again, I will, but that would have been very helpful. Trekking poles help a lot with climbing. It takes some of the pressure off of your back and helps you get up those hills, which there's definitely plenty of hills out there on Mohican Trail. Also consider wearing some gaiters. I have gaiters on I always wear gaiters on my shoes and my ankles. That helps just get debris, rocks, leaves, whatever, sticks out of your shoes and keeps them out of, makes you more comfortable doing the race. In my opinion, I like them a lot. So consider that. Another thing about this race that I found pretty cool, because I'm weird, is I got to see one of my running idols, Connie Gardner. She is usually, or at least mostly, always at this race. She has the record for the speed distance of this race. She's won it so many times. I think she's an awesome person, an awesome runner. I've got to meet her twice. She paced me in Destin when I did my first 100-miler, so I was quite starstruck when I had her help there. And then I got to see her again at Mohican when I did it the first time. She's a phenomenal runner, but she's usually always there at that race. So you might get to be able to see her or meet her. I would take that opportunity if I were you. She's got a lot of information that's very useful too. But she even said and told me herself in her own words that this is a tough race. So you need to be as prepared as possible. The 2 times that I did this race, the weather was pretty good. Besides being really hot, we didn't have any rain. But I would always have rain gear, and I carried rain gear just in case. You never know what's going to happen. Just be prepared. Like I said, this was a hot race, so definitely during the day, the temperatures were up there, like mid to upper 80s, low 90s at some points. But even at night, it never got cold at all. So watch the weather though, be prepared. I always have a long sleeve pullover, whatever, in my drop bags just in case. You never know what the weather's gonna bring, especially in the mountains. So just be prepared for that. But we've lucked out the 2 times that I did it. And this was a pretty big race. A lot of runners start, and that's exciting. You start on the campground area of the Mohican Trail, and quite a few runners are all there, so the excitement in the mornings is great. The 100-milers will go first, and then an hour later the 50-milers will go, and that's exciting. Especially when they start to catch up with you and pass you, and they're just speeding down the trail. And I'm a slow, steady runner, so I just kind of go and poke along on my own pace. So that also worked for me, that you may want to consider. Because this race is tough, it's a huge challenge. You got the heat, you got the elevation. Don't start out too fast. And I went slow and steady throughout the whole race, and that worked pretty well for me. You know, if you're an experienced runner, or have done this trail before, or you work with a trainer, or whatever the case, you know, definitely do whatever works best for you. But I stayed slow and steady on this race and was able to get it done. They do give you a good amount of time to finish this race. It's a 32-hour cutoff, strict cutoffs times at the aid stations. So be aware of what those are and stay within the time frame. But 32 hours is a long time for a race. But they give you extra time because of the difficulty of the race. So at least they try to help you out there, and it is quite helpful. Oh, another thing that was really cool about this race that I had never seen anywhere else before is foot care. Apparently there's like a podiatry school that's not too far away from this race location, and on the day of the race, was it the day? Yeah, I think it was. Maybe it was the day before. A bunch of the students were at the packet pickup area or the main aid station area, and they were helping a lot of the runners with blister prevention and any issues that they had with their feet, giving them advice, and they got to work on some stuff. It's a good opportunity for the students because they get to see a lot of blister issues and problems, feet problems that runners go through, which are significant and abundant. But so that was a cool perk to this race. So hopefully they'll be out there for your race. But that's the gist of this race. Totally fun, totally worth doing. Just be prepared, be ready. It is tough. You hit that wall. The first time I did this race, I hit a pretty bad wall and came very close to coming to a DNF because I really got behind on calories. Made a huge mistake not carrying anything in my pack. Really almost cost me the race. Have your extra calories in there, and just know that you're going to be blowing through a lot more calories than you may anticipate. If you do hit a wall, try to take a break, sit down, get some food, get some water, relax. Just sit there for a few minutes, 5-10 minutes, whatever you need, try to reset and then keep going. That's what I did, and that's what worked. And luckily I didn't have to DNF, but I came really close to it, I have to say. The first time I did the race, I had a crew. The second time I did the race, I did not have a crew. Do whatever works best for you. I had an easier and better time with the second race, doing it on my own and doing it solo. I had a little more experience by that point, but also logistically, I did not have nearly as much to worry about. Traveling with extra people, it's always a lot of fun, but it's always a little bit more stress, and you have to make it a priority to try to relax as much as possible before this huge race. So having extra logistical challenges were not optimal for me. So I preferred doing the race solo, driving up there on my own time, having the hotel room to myself to get some good hard sleep, and then you can tackle this race. You're going to be so proud of yourself when you finish this, because this is a tough one, and you're going to feel so great accomplishing such an amazing race and feat. It's awesome. But just be ready. Go out there, have some great training runs. Definitely don't skip out on elevation day and climbing those hills. Get your body and your mind used to that, and have a fantastic time at this race. You won't regret it. All right, have a wonderful day.